and have plenty of room for my cabling. The AIS unit itself, I'm going to put out in my cockpit locker, down in there, by my battery charger. So if I put my antenna splitter in here, I can draw 12 volts from right here. Right here's my radio with the antenna, and there's the wire that goes up to the top of the mast, easy to plug in there. My only big problem is connecting this through the boat to my AIS unit back in the locker. Now, why didn't I put the AIS unit here? I could put them both here. But where's my chart plotter? Well, it's out there on my steering pedestal. So I'm still going to have to run wires, cabling to it. And that's even, that would be a lot longer. And so I decided to put the AIS unit out there. They don't have to be together. I'm going to have trouble seeing those little flashing lights, but I don't really need that. When I close all this, it's going to be in there. I won't see it, but I'll see it on my chart plotter. So I spent 2 hours, poking through every hole I could find back there and up here to try to run the wire. Finally, I was able to fish this thing through. Beneteau built into the boat, part of the fiberglass frame, if you want to call it, the hull, is kind of a little shelf. And the wires go up here and run along behind these cabinets to a hole up there. Well, I was down in the locker back there, poking that wire through everything I could. And like I said, after about 2 hours of climbing back and forth, I finally got it to come through that little hole up there. And then I was able to pull it through, fish it through another hole. But it was a real hassle. Like I said, I really spent 2 hours. I tried going down there. I tried in the engine room. I tried everything to get that cable, but finally was successful getting it through there. So this is where I'm going to put the splitter. I did order from Amazon a little small bus bar to put right there. I'm going to hook 12 volts to it with the ground. And then I can also put something else in here if I need to, or run another battery. Another 12 volt outlet, whatever I want. I'll have 12 volts right there. That's always nice because there's a cover that fits on this thing. All right. By the way, one thing good about this antenna splitter, you can also hook your FM radio antenna to it. And mine just happens to be split here already. Whoever put it in. So I'm going to hook this wire up to it and get greater coverage for my FM radio. So, we'll see if that helps. It's no big deal, but interesting. Okay, so I'm going to put my actual unit out here in this cockpit locker. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Climbing down here. Right here is my battery charger. Right here is that shelf I was mentioning. And here's where I brought the cable through. I used that cable then to pull the antenna from my antenna splitter into here. So I'll have the antenna to hook up, and I have 12 volts here. And I'm going to mount the AIS unit right here by the battery charger, out of the weather, protected in here. All right, from the AIS unit itself, I've got to run the NMEA cable, if that's what I'm going to use, or the data cable up to the chart plotter. And I've got to run the GPS antenna wire. So I'll run it along here. Here's the continuation of that little shelf, but I'm not going to use that. I'm going to run it right through here. Well, I'll put it through that. This doesn't seem to be a hole up there. I may have to drill a hole here, but I took this panel off, and I'll mount the GPS antenna on the back rail, run the wire up, and I'll bring my data cable through here, around and up into my steering pedestal, and I'll show you that in a minute. But there was a GPS antenna on here already that came with the boat, a Garmin, for the chart plotter that's no longer functioning. I had to replace it with a new chart plotter, but it came out back here, right there, through that hole, and mounted on the rail. So I pulled all that out. It ran under here and up into the steering pedestal to the GPS. I mean, to the chart plotter. So I pulled all that off, and will now run my new GPS antenna over there. The old Garmin GPS antenna was mounted back there on this thing. As you can see, plastic, original to the boat, I'm sure, corroded, UV destroyed, etc., etc. So I ordered a new stainless steel mount from Amazon. I got this wire. The cable that came with this is not long enough to get up to the pedestal. So I ordered this. This is like 20 gauge, but this is very low amperage. So all you need is some very small cable to get it up the steering pedestal. All right, if we come back here, we can see I'll bring the wires through there and up into the steering pedestal to connect to the chart plotter. That'll be the data cables. And that, of course, is always an issue, getting this AIS to talk to your chart plotter. Before, one time, I know a friend and I were putting it on a sailboat, and it would not talk. It would not show up. Well, I found out, we're looking in the book, the baud rate. We had to change the baud rate on the chart plotter, and all of a sudden it comes up. And there's a whole lot of wires on this cable.